If you would, so we get it correct, will you say and spell your name, please?
My name is Louis J. Seiler. Louis, middle initial J, Seiler.
If you can, would you tell me what life was like and what you were doing prior to December of 1941?
Prior to December of 41, I was in the service.
Oh, you were already in the service at that time?
Yes.
When did you originally join the service?
I joined the service in August of 1940.
And what branch of the service was that?
Army.
What was your duty in the Army?
I was an artillery mechanic.
Can you tell me what an artillery mechanic does?
It services artillery pieces regardless of size and so forth. And we keep them moving. Repair them if necessary. And keep them on the ball.
Can you tell me about the artillery at that time that the Army was using?
The artillery we had at Fort Knox was basically World War I. And all we did was take the wooden wheels off and put rubber tires on, and that was a big thing. There had been no completion in the artillery from World War I till the beginning of World War II.
What were the calibers of the field pieces?
We had 75 millimeter and 105 millimeter guns and howitzers.
What were the effective range of those pieces?
The 155 was 6 miles plus, and the 75 was, I forget the exact range on it, but it was a lot less than the 105.
When they needed maintenance, what was the most common type of maintenance that you had to perform?
Well, we did 4th and 5th echelon maintenance, and what the crews didn't do, we did. And they were very limited to what they could do. So we'd go out, we'd check the recoil oil in the recoil mechanism and just do monetary work that they couldn't do. They didn't have parts for it. We were the maintainers and the goers of the artillery pieces. All sizes, all shapes.
Do you remember where you were and what you thought when you heard about the bombing of Pearl Harbor?
I was at artillery school in Maryland, and we had just come back from lunch, and we were sitting on some guy's bunk, and they announced on the radio that the Japanese had just bombed Pearl Harbor. So the first question we had, where in the hell is Pearl Harbor? Being Army, we didn't know where Pearl Harbor was.
How long before things really picked up after that?
What do you mean picked up? We left the next month for Pearl Harbor, for Australia. We didn't know it was Australia, but that's where we ended.
Can you tell me about the trip to Australia? How'd you get there?
We had an 8-ship convoy with, I think, 2 destroyers, and we went from Brooklyn through Panama Canal to Tahiti. I think it was Tahiti we stopped because our ship wouldn't make it across, had to be refueled and rewatered, and we went from there to Australia. We were in Australia for 1 week, and then we went up to New Caledonia. We were basically there to keep the Japanese out of Australia is what we were doing. And we were in New Caledonia, formed a division, the old AmeriCal division. Never had a number, just a name. And then we went from there to the Solomon Islands.
Can you tell me about the Solomon Islands? What was going on there?
Guadalcanal. Guadalcanal was our first effort in the Solomon Islands. And of course, we had a lot of the Army with us. The rest of the first and 6th Marines were there, ahead of us, and we went in to relieve them. And we were attached to the 1st Marines for a while, and then we gradually took over the island from August of one year to February of the next. We had the Solomons in our grip. We had Guadalcanal. The rest of the Solomons came later.
What can you tell me about the action on Guadalcanal?
Well, it was pretty active. I mean, the Japanese had their best troops in from India, from Asia. They had some damn good Marines in there. They were going to keep those islands, but they couldn't. They had built a new airstrip on Guadalcanal. They called it Henderson. We called it Henderson Field. And the Marines took it away from them once, and then the Japanese took it back again, and we all had to go in and take it again. That was quite a deal.
And then you say the Marines got that out like 10 months after?
The Marines went in August, we went in September. And there were two admirals out there. One wanted to get off the island and save our troops, and the other one wanted to stay and reinforce them. So they put the Marechal Division in to reinforce the Marines, and we stayed there. Stayed there till the island was secured.
Now, did you see any action, or were you behind the?
Oh, hell, everybody was in action on Guadalcanal. We just had a small strip of the island to work on. We had the Air Force. Air Force saved our butts a lot of times. So did the Navy. We had a team effort there. Everybody was for everybody.
You saw naval battles, though.
Oh, we had a lot of naval battles every night in the Guadalcanal Harbor. Every night, till we were so outnumbered by the Japs that they had far more ships than we had. But they didn't have radar. And we had a little handicap there. We had radar in our favor, which helped a hell of a lot. But our Navy members hadn't had any night fighting up to that time, and the Japs were damn good at that. So,
how were the Japanese as warriors?
They were damn good. We had our big combat boots running all over the jungle. They had some kind of lace boot on it. Hell, you couldn't hear them. It was a big change from our type of Navy, or from our type of Army.
And they had snipers, right?
That-
Japanese snipers?
They had what?
When they strapped themselves in the trees?
Oh, they were good at that. You could go after snipers, and if they strapped themselves in, you never knew you got them. Because when you shoot a sniper in a tree, he usually falls. But they strapped themselves in, you didn't know.
Didn't you have to shoot the tops off the trees?
Well, we did that with BARs. We had Browning automatic rifles, and they would cut the top off of most. We had all coconut trees on Guadalcanal. Some oil company in Britain. It used to be a British owner. All the Solomons were British owned at once, and they were getting their oil for their soaps off of those coconut trees. There had a lot of horses there they were using for the coconut trees plantation.
Where did you go after the Solomons in Guadalcanal?
I never got out of the Solomons. Guadalcanal was the first entrance we went in on, and we finished up, I forget what little island, just one island after another. That was the old days we were going island to island to island. And then MacArthur finally took that out, and we started jumping around some of them, see, and let those Japs die on their vine, you know.
So what was it like pulling an artillery piece through the jungle?
We didn't. We had to pull them by hand. All we had was Jeeps. We had half-ton trucks, but you couldn't drive through a jungle and all that junk. No, you'd find your places and push them by hand, mostly. This was the beginning of the war. We had nothing. We had World War I equipment.
What was the first rifle that you?
My first rifle at Fort Knox was an old, it was a Springfield 03 is what we had. And I had that all the way to the Solomons.
Didn't you have a World War I helmet?
Had what?
How long did you keep your World War I helmet?
The flat helmets. Before you got the Model 42 turtle shell.
Oh, we
helmets.
had those flat helmets at Fort Knox. I don't know when our real helmets came in, but I know we had them on Guadalcanal, the real helmets. Probably got them in the ship going over. I don't remember.
Were you ever issued a Garand? Did they ever?
Oh yeah, we got M1s later, M1 Grands later. That's what surprised the Japanese, because the Marines still had O3s yet. They had that old 5 clip thing. We came in with I think we had 7 or 8 rounds in ours. And you just pump those things away.
other than one was a Bolt and one was a semi-automatic?
Yeah,
What was
yeah.
the-
The Bolt,
and
the,
how did that make you feel when you went from a bolt action to a semi-automatic weapon? Was that more comforting to you?
well, sure. You get more rounds out in a minute. You felt more secure anyway. But the Japs had what they called a 25 millimeter. It was longer than our, but they was accurate. They were accurate as hell. Very good with their weapons. They had a lot of training. Hell, they were veterans. They were veterans from all the Japs' wars up to that time. They knew what they were doing. And they started building Guadalcanal. That's why one of the reasons we went in is because we knew sooner or later that canal, that airport was going to be finished and they were going to bring fighters in there and everything. Otherwise, they just brought fighters in from the north, which meant using fuel all the way there and then back again.
You don't believe that the Japanese ever used that airfield? Can you say that?
The Japanese, if they had did it all, they had one or two planes come in, and that was about it. They never used it basically as an airport. We never were bombed by planes off of Henderson Field that we know of.
Did we use it a lot after the?
Who?
Did we end up using that a lot?
Oh hell, we had Henderson Field, and we had Fighter Strip 1 and Fighter Strip 2. Then they used Henderson Field for nothing but bombers because it was so big. But we had Fighter Strip 1, Fighter Strip 2 for fighters.
Didn't they originally make it out of steel?
To make what?
What was the airstrip made out of when we got it? Do you remember? Do you happen to know? Didn't we try to make it out of steel?
It was, all those islands are, what do they call that? Coral? They're all made out of coral, all those
I
islands.
thought they tried to steal it first, but it was too got too mangled up. They ended up making
Oh, our Air Force put steel mats down, and they were useless. A bomb hit those steel, they were only, I mean, two men could handle them. Put them in place, hook them together, and put them in place, and the bomb hits an area of that, and you got 10, 12 of those plates to replace. So they just went back to just regular sod.
I thought they'd scoop coral out of the sea and just use it as
Well, you could put
asphalt.
if your airport was near the ocean, you could just scrape the coral up like concrete in those islands. Now this was the Solomon jet. This was the beginning of the war. I mean, all that fancy stuff hadn't come out yet. We were there. We were just living day to day.
You said that when you first got there, you were attached to a Marine.
Well, we were under General Vandergrift and his First Marines because we had General Patch was our general, but he was also under the Marines. Then it turned around later when they were some way they were going to give the Marines time off. So then our Army general took over the Marine Corps for Marine troops for a while. I forget how long it was, but we never knew about that till after the war. Hell, that all happened right before us.
Well, how did that make you feel? Here you, an Army GI, how did that make you feel being attached to the Marine Corps? I know some people...
That was an honor, hell. The Marines had their way in the Pacific. Of course, they were better probably trained than we were.
So were you trained for jungle warfare?
Hell no. You picked it up in a hurry. No, we weren't trained for jungle warfare at all. I don't know if the Marines were or not. They probably were. Because they're pretty thoroughly trained outfit.
You said you picked it up in a hurry. What were some of the things that you picked up first?
Don't travel at night. No, I forget. We pick up things along the way. You had to be pretty damn careful all the time because they were sneaky. Those Japs were sneaky as hell. We seemed to outnumber them quite a bit, but they had the nerve and the will to do it. Of course, they were going to take over everything out there in the Pacific. With Australia, the end of it, that was probably as far as they would go. But hell, if they had Guadalcanal, they could bomb Australia from Guadalcanal. That's how close we were. So we had to keep those airports down if we could, to a minimum. Then the Jap Navy went to pieces in a hurry.
Were they able to keep you supplied fairly regularly?
Yes and no. Sometimes we were short stuff. We borrow from each other. The Marines used to give us a lot of equipment. And we always suffered a little from medical care, not on the ground, but the first night or two I remember on Guadalcanal, during World War I, they had the old hospital ships. And during this war, there was 1 or 2 nights that they had a hospital ship out in the harbor. And the Japs took onto it, so we had to move it. It was just there a very short time. So we got everything with medical feet on the floor, on the ground, to take care of us. Can we rest a minute?
Yeah.
Are we on now?
We're on now.
Tell them about getting malaria.
We had some drugs from Australia that they called Adabrin, and it was supposed to keep your malaria. It didn't stop your malaria, but it kept it down so you could still operate. And I got malaria in the Solomons, but never had it up there. It didn't come out till they took us back to New Caledonia for a rest area, took us off the Adabrin, then I had malaria. But I stole some to get it home. I had some at home yet when I had malaria 16 times.
Was there ever one instance where you were more scared than any other time?
Yes, but it wasn't in the Solomons. It was in the Pacific. The Navy was practicing anti-submarine warfare and didn't tell the Army anything about it. We were in those damn ships, and then all the explosions cut loose. I thought, what the hell we got here, a Jap raid or something? I was scared. God, we were down about 4.
Hang on a second, let's let that clear. I don't know why they do that. They know there's interviews going on down here, they're sending me calls.
Do you want to go back in time a little bit? Well, I guess there's not much to say except he was in high school. He was at Memorial, still a junior, and him and his buddy signed up. Back then, you went downtown here to the old post office, and
In the basement of the old post office.
who signed you up, Sergeant Raines?
Sergeant Raines signed me up.
And his buddy was going to join with a buddy, and they were going to go over.
That's history.
And the guy backed out last.
We
minute.
two of us joined together, and the next day his dad come to pick me up, and Jimmy wasn't with him.
So somebody else's dad gives him a lift. Where did
Yeah.
he take you to? Train station or there?
Yeah, L&N. Louisville, went to Louisville and ended up in Fort Knox.
But that guy eventually got in.
He got into the Navy, and when he went up, one of his trips, he buzzed his wife was up there with him. He buzzed the house where his wife lived. That threw him out. Yeah, that threw him out for good. They don't take that buzzing stuff.
Okay, if we can go back and you tell about the maneuvers that no one knew about when the time you were most scared.
Well, that was Navy. Navy was up to that. We didn't. Well, we thought, hell, biggest guns we had on the ship was Army 50 millimeter, and they're not going to hurt a submarine. So we asked the captain if we couldn't mount some 50s and 30s up on the rail of the ship, just to shoot at these damn submarines, to do something. Because there's nothing worse in the world than being a troop, an Army troop. They always chase you back to your area where you live. Whatever floor, I don't know what they call it in the Navy, decks or something. Everywhere you went during a crisis, you didn't know what the hell was going on. You'd rather be out there shooting a 22 at anything than doing nothing.
And you can't dig a hole.
Huh?
You can't dig a hole.
You can't dig a hole in water. That was one of the jokes we had in the Pacific about.
Well, that's the way you put it.
Best to be in the Navy because it was safer.
The Navy was the food and dry cot.
Yeah, food and dry cots every night.
But the advantage to the Army was you could dig a
Yeah, but you can't dig a hole in water.
Well, tell me about the creation of the AmeriCal division, how it got its name, and
Well, the AmeriCal, we went over there with the idea of giving Australia all the help they needed, just as long as there were troops there. And we had nothing. We had what we called an old square division, which had 4 regiments of infantry. And we got over there. Well, they had to get rid of one of the regiments because there were too many in division. Then they made the AmeriCal division, which was a regular Army division. And what was your question?
how did it get its name?
Oh, Washington would not give it a number like all the divisions have. So General Patch had a contest to name the division. So some guy won. He put America and New Caledonia together and came up with AmeriCal. And that was the name of our division. It fought all through the Solomons and went as far as the Japanese occupation. Then it came along again for Korea, and it was over in Vietnam. No number yet. Now I think they have one now. I think it's 23. I'm not sure.
But it got deactivated.
Huh?
It got deactivated.
Well, it was deactivated a couple of times. It was deactivated after World War II. It was deactivated after Korea. And I don't know where it is now, probably deactivated again.
The only Army division activated on foreign soil
Oh, that's right.
and never given a number.
Never given a number.
And it's what's on the patch?
You know that Southern Cross. The Southern Cross is a patch of 4, I guess it is, stars in the southern hemisphere that you got to see south of the equator to see it. So they put the Southern Cross on our Army shoulder patch.
So was the fighting intense all through the Solomons, or was?
I didn't get all through the Solomons. I got about halfway through, and then my time came up for rotation. So they started shipping some of us home. But it was rough well, Bougainville was one of the biggest islands in the North Solomons, and they had a hell of a fight there. See, now we got all the publicity here in the States because most of this happened before Normandy invasion. And after that, everything in the States was about Europe. You know? So we had full headlines for a long time. And I wrote to my brother. The day we landed on Guadalcanal, the old man said, the old man being the company commander, the old man said, I'm going to let you write home anything you want tonight. I have no instructions on what you can and cannot write. I'm going to let everything go through. So I hurried up and sent my brother a letter. I told him we were. I don't know what he told him, but he didn't tell him where I was. But he knew where I was. And anyway, he told him that I was on maneuvers in Australia, which was a hell of a lot better than where I was.
Well, you didn't want your mom to know, right?
I didn't want Mom to know about it. Hell no. Of course not. That's the only reason I'd avoid any of them is because of Mom. Because every morning had something about Guadalcanal on it. That was the big news of the day. We're in war in one place, and that was Guadalcanal.
You talked about being rotated home. When were you rotated out?
Just pick up where I left.
Now, you lost your mom in the Pacific while you were over there, though, right?
No, I lost my mom when I was in an Army hospital.
In Europe?
I didn't get home.
You were in Europe by then?
No, I was at Denver.
Oh, in Denver, okay. I wonder one time I thought about sending you back home.
Well, I tried to get out of the hospital to come back home, but they wouldn't let me.
Oh, you didn't get out of high, okay.
Tell me how you ended up in the hospital.
This was after the war. This was the occupation of Germany.
Oh, okay.
I was over in Germany then.
He re-enlisted for the occupation.
Oh, okay. All right.
Didn't you say you went over with a collection of guys from New York and Boston?
Oh, what?
Didn't you say you went over there with a collection of Boston boys? And
Oh, our 182nd Division. Our 182nd Regiment was a bunch of Boston boys. They were in a world of their own. They lost their flag on Guadalcanal. A flag is a division flag is what it is. They call them the colors. And they met what they thought was a division of Japanese, and it was actually a platoon of Japanese soldiers. And they took the flag away from them because they lost to those Japanese soldiers. But they got it back again pretty quick when they found out the mistake. We had the 182nd from Boston. We had the 132nd from North and South Dakota, I guess. I forget the 3rd Division, or the 3rd Regiment we had. 164th. 132nd, 164th, and 182nd.
were you with any guys from here? Charlie would be the closest. Were you with Charlie very much?
Charlie was from Louisville.
Jeffersonville, yeah.
Well, he was Louisville then.
As far as you weren't with any guys you would call local?
Well, we had a couple of guys, one named Cox, but I had no very many locals at all. Most of us was Kentucky and Indiana. It was all regular Army. It was for the draft.
Now you were in when it went to $1 a day, didn't you?
In what?
When pay went to $30 a month?
Oh, I don't know why you brought that up, but yes, I remember my first pay.
They remember the birth of the expression another day, another
My first payday was $15 for the first month I was in. It was basically $21 a month then. But it's the first day you got in the Army in those days, they gave you an advance on your next pay. So we got $5 or $6, I forget what it was. So we go down to PX and fill up our foot lockers with shoe polish, everything you need to pass inspection, razors, all that. Couldn't get by with it. And then they took that out on payday. When I was in, I was getting, I stayed at the first 3 months we stayed at $21 a month. Then we jumped to $30 a month.
What did Eleanor Roosevelt say that was so silly?
Mrs. Roosevelt, she wasn't very liked in the Army. She thought that the president should cut our wages down. She says, they're making too much money, all they need is cigarette money. That's all she thought we needed was cigarette money. That was a rumor in the Army. Whether she did that, we don't know. Nobody in the Army liked Eleanor that much, but she made a lot of headlines.
What was the morale like in your unit?
It'd come and go. You'd see guys that you knew they were putting on. But the Army couldn't, it's hard to tell a guy that's putting on. You can't say, hey, you're all right, just stay as you are. But there were some that should have been out and weren't, and there were some that went out that didn't need to be. But medics I remember medics told us one day, said, don't worry about these guys that we're letting go and go home, because you're going to be out long before when they're still in observation in the States. Which was probably true. They kept them around too long. There was a lot of guys, not a lot, but there were some faked. Hell, you do anything to get out of there.
When and where did that one guy hang himself?
We had an officer hang himself on, I don't know if it was I guess it was New Caledonia. Yeah, it was New Caledonia because he wasn't on the first group to go up. We send a third of the troops up each time. And he wasn't on the list to go. And all he was thinking of his wife getting his insurance money. And it ended up when he wasn't on the list, they put him in the hospital under observation. And he went out and hung himself. Of course, his wife didn't know about that. She still got the insurance from his. We went overseas then, we had every GI had $10,000 government insurance. And then when you got out, you had so many weeks or months to convert it to their type of insurance, but you started paying premiums. I still have $5,000 of mine right now. But if you wanted to keep the whole 10, it costs quite a bit.
Didn't you say that there are no suicides in a war zone?
There's what?
There are no suicides in a war zone?
Oh, yeah. At that time, the Army didn't report suicides as suicides. Well, the officers work different, too. The commanding officer always writes home to whoever's left of this guy who killed himself. And being an officer, this was first lieutenant who hung himself. Well, the commanding officer was a first lieutenant, too. They came from Texas National Guard. And they all three ended up, we had three from Texas University there in our outfit. And they were, how come you make me remember all this stuff?
Yes,
He's heard it all his life.
I think it's interesting that they didn't count suicides in wartime.
No.
All combat deaths. That to me is interesting.
But the commanding officer didn't always write home to the troops, just the officers he wrote home about. And we had one of the best officers we ever had, Captain Coyle. And he wanted to make major, and he had to leave our outfit to do it, so he cried like a baby.
Could you tell a difference between the regular Army guys and the volunteers?
They went through what we did. They went through what regulars did as much as possible. Just glad to see them around.
So, when there wasn't fighting going on, I know there's a lot of fighting, but how would you entertain yourselves?
Oh, that was a big deal. Well, at night, Japs always raided at night, mostly, after we got air superiority. And they were over every night. Every night they were bombing. We had some we called Bed Check Charlie, we called him. He'd come putting over one or two planes. They may or may not drop anything. You don't know, but you got to get in the hole because you don't know what's going to come down. So we got in our holes and sweated out. And then later on, as the weeks passed, we got braver and just ignored it. And one of our bigger concerns over there were these darn coconut branches falling off. They loaded with, lots of coconuts, and they cut you. And where it left the tree, it was real sharp.
What about the mess? How was the food?
I can't complain about the food. We had a thing there. See, the Japs and our Navy and their troops and the sailors couldn't get up in those islands to get souvenirs. And Americans are crazy about souvenirs. And hell, we'd go up and we'd bring down old Japanese machine guns and anything that had Japanese connected and trade the Navy guys for eggs and things, Hell, some of those ships are big cities out there. Take a cruiser on up, and that's a pretty good sized city. And we'd trade them anything Japanese for whatever they had. So a couple times they got crates of eggs and things, that they had. Hell, we'd bring it back to the cooks, and you know what they do with them? Fry them. Scramble them. Why do you do that? You can feed more troops with scrambled eggs. We had... I forgot my water. This is water.
That is water, unless you want something a little stronger.
It is water, isn't it?
He asked you how you entertained yourself. See, he didn't play poker.
No.
So you missed out on that entertainment.
Well, yeah, but the famous card game we had over there, I guess, was we didn't even have Clabber. Clabber's Indiana thing. But what's this other big game they play with so many cards? Pinochle. we had guys playing pinochle quite often.
Here we go again.
Hey, we can quit now if you want to.
No, I got just a few more questions.
All right.
Oh, okay. Here, 60 years plus since the war's ended. When you look back, how do you feel about your service to your country?
I feel I had a service I owed, and I did it. No harm about that. I mean, I was never sorry for being anywhere because we were all in the same misery. That's one thing in the Army like that. You're not alone. It's not they didn't pull you out and put you there. You had a whole group around you. You know? I did get lost in my outfit once, but see, when you get lost from your outfit, the first thing you're supposed to do is turn into the nearest Army outfit you can find. So everybody has to be on somebody's day book. And if you're not, you could be AWOL. So I got separated from my outfit in bombings. And see, we had a lot of Navy shelling out there that was worse than bombing. Because they could sit out there until somebody got on them. And just fire away at you all night. When our planes were grounded. But then I didn't roam around at night. I was only out one night, and early the next morning, I found a Graves registration outfit. Graves registration records dead GIs in the field, tags and whatever they have to do with them. And I said, "Hey, how about getting something to eat around here?" "Yeah, that's fine, that's fine." I turned into them for that day, and somebody picked me up from the outfit.
Well, what about that division? What about the Graves Registration Division?
That's who I turned into.
It was an African American.
I was on their morning report for one morning.
And it was all blacks.
Yeah, all blacks. We had no. I don't think we had any black troops in the regular lines then.
Didn't you spend a night with them?
It was early morning when I found them, because I didn't travel during the night. It's lonesome. You're by yourself. You don't know where in the hell your outfit is anymore. Shh.
Do you remember where you were when you heard about VE Day?
VE Day, I was home. See, we were early over there in the Pacific, but it's too damn far to bring them home in a short period of time. So we stayed all that time because of the distance, really. And they brought this one ship that I came back to the States on was heading back for California because it needed barnacles. You see these ships pick up all these barnacles as they go through the water. And he was going back to California to get those barnacles off, and they picked up troops on the way. They stopped at Guadalcanal and picked us up and brought us home. Went from California to Indianapolis, and then down to Evansville. And I had, it was just over Christmas. And I was home for Christmas that year. And I had to go back I had to report back. They gave us 30 days to get from Indianapolis to Miami. And we went down to Miami for reassignment to a different outfit. And I ended up back in Baltimore, Maryland after that.
Do you remember when you heard the news about the atomic bomb being dropped? And what did you think about that?
When the atomic bomb, I don't know if I was a civilian then or not. I could have been home by then. What's my date of coming home there?
Let's see. Discharge November 30th, 50. Let's see. Home on leave August 47. Civilian July of 45.
When was A-bomb? H-bomb? Was A-bomb?
Didn't that fall?
I knew I was home for the E-Day, and I think I was a civilian for VJ Day.
think that's all I have. Can you think of anything else?
What did you listen to on the radio in the Pacific?
What?
Did you listen to programs on the radio?
Oh, one of the guys in my outfit got a receiver out of a P-38 airplane. And some way we were listening to Tokyo Rose and all that junk going on over there. Is that what you meant?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, she became quite famous.
Well, there were 2 or 3 different Tokyo Roses. One of them was possibly American and was brought to trial. I don't know what happened to her.
You tried to get her up on treason charges. You thought it was silly.
Hell, she was enjoyable. She had better records. She played all the good records from the States. We enjoyed the Tokyo Rose, sure.
She would come on and say,
Then we had...
Joe, there's somebody stealing your girlfriend back home.
Yeah.
Just try to kill you as an around. They just thought it was funny. They thought it was a joke. They just wanted to hear the music.
I didn't have a girlfriend back
They
home.
did
I
it on
wasn't
purpose,
worried
you know.
about
That's not purpose. They thought she was funny.
Was there anything else you want to say?
No, sir, that's it.
Anything I didn't ask you that I should have asked you?
No, that's fine, sir.
If you were 60 years younger, would you do it again?
Damn right. We still on?
Yeah.
You're darn right I would. I wouldn't mind. Well, as it turned out, what the hell? I got out all right. Ended up with a good family.
This was coming out of the Depression. And they lived in, right here in the near north side of Evansville. And his dad was illiterate. Came off the farm. He was, living off the county food and stuff back when he was growing up. There wasn't much going down.
Then I was sending part of my check home every month, and they were getting help from the county. So I ended up in Germany, married a German girl. He's my baby boy right there. He's my baby everything.
I thought it was funny when they went to Brooklyn and headed out. They were sure. Where were you going?
England. Hell, there were the guys on a ship there with little. They were tuning in London and everything. And hell, we were heading straight east. What they did, found out later, as the ships got ready to go, they made room in the harbor for other ships to come in. Well, they went out and waited in the ocean till all the ships were ready at once, and then we all went out at one time with 8 ships. Now we had dirigible and plane control till we got south of Florida. Then we lost all that on our own. And the first night out, hell, nobody knew what was going on. We didn't know from anything where we were going. Of course, everything's so secret. But hell yeah, we got to be going to England. That's good duty, hell. So we end up straight south to the Panama Canal. That was something going through that canal. That big lake in the middle, I forget the name of it, that's fresh water. And we didn't have fresh water all the way from New York down for showers, And then we get to that big lake, Gatun Lake they called it. And hell, when you go through the Panama Canal, it looks like the ship's about that far from the shore. So I was down taking a freshwater shower.
This was a commandeered luxury liner or cruise ship.
This ship was made, the original name was Oriente, and it was made for a Miami to Cuba run. So they took, we had lots of troops, and we got 2,000 nurses on the top 2 floors. And they made a beeline for Guadalcanal. That's a long trip for a ship made from Miami to, Australia. And what the hell, the Australian Army was over in North Africa with the British fighting the Germans. So what the hell? But we were only 1 week in Australia. And they picked us up and sent us to New Caledonia. New Caledonia was a French, may still be French, I don't know. but it was better in the open ocean.
Well, now this is if your father's Navy. This story I don't quite believe. What did they tell you about what you watched the first naval battle from land?
What?
Didn't they say you saw the first naval battle from land?
Oh, that was one of the battles. The Guadalcanal had 3 major naval battles. It was a closed. Well, it was almost closed. There were 2 channels going into Guadalcanal Harbor, and you had to come through there. One of those 2 to get into that harbor. And the Japs came in one night during the night and got our Navy composed, got it closed in there. Fighting, God. And everything was right there in view. Hell, we could see that we were safe because they weren't shooting at us, they were shooting at each other. And we were out there watching the newspapers later on had the first time that a full naval battle had been viewed by ground troops. And they had it right there in front of us. One would throw up a rocket, and then, boy, it'd light up the night like hell. Of course, when it hit the water, it went out. But damn, those Navy ships, they were firing away like crazy. And we couldn't tell what Navy was doing this and what Navy was doing that. It was all dark. But the next day, the Japs did have 3 ships they sunk. What they call it when they run them up on the beach so they don't sink. They had 3 ships and then the damn Navy personnel would come down, not naval, medical personnel come down, raiding those ships that were on there, whatever was in there. Military personnel on those ships. And lots of times when our aircraft would go out, they didn't always get to target, or they returned back for some reason, and they came back, but they didn't want to land on the ships with their loads. Well, didn't want to land on the airstrip with their loads of bombs. So they got and practiced on these damn ships in the harbor. We had guys killed out there by that, out there scavenger hunting. Americans are great souvenir hunters. Every place we go, we got to bring back something. They can get dangerous because you have to call on to that. They could what they call it, booby trap anything, including their own dead or you're wounded. They'd booby trap anything.
Thank you, Lewis.
Hmm?
Thank you, Lewis. I appreciate this interview. You did a good job, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Hello upstairs.
You gonna
Hello.
you gonna wake him up?
I gotta wake him up. Gotta rattle their cage. Hello, hello, hello. Yeah. You can stop taping. I've got some pictures.
That was my old.
Oh, we're gonna have you back up a bit. We're getting some shadows on the picture from you all. So if you'll back up, just roll back. There you go. You're good. My grandfather was a World War I artilleryman,
How about that?
and I've got these little pamphlets that they printed aboard the ship. Are we? Okay. Okay.
We secured the island. Because all we had then was air raids and ship development. It was after February. They had some beach patrol. If you weren't doing anything else, you could always be put down on beach patrol.
Are there any more?
No.
The picture right there. Look at over there.
Yeah, I'm staying by a Jap tank. But see, now you could do that in the Solomons without a shirt. till dark. And then the mosquitoes came. When we used this was put those rubber tires on. The rest of the gun is just still World War One. And that was Solomon's, but it was not Guadalcanal.
Looks hot.
Hmm?
Looks hot.
It is hot there. And the guy squatted down with a baseball cap on, right in front of the gun.
Mm-hmm.
That's Sergeant Harper. He was our gun crew.
Okay.
Gun that we had liberated. I don't know what size gun that is. Probably close to a 155.
What'd you do with them? Did you disable
Hell, it may still be there. we did demilitarize it. Either take the breech block out and throw it away or something.
What's that? Thank you, sir.
See those poles on the bottom?
Mm-hmm.
Imagine it's coconut logs and sandbags. That's
Is that
me
your-
on the right.
Was that your friend from Gary there?
No, that's Houston. That's Archie Houston from Louisville.
Do you remember what that sign said? Were you holding a sign?
Yeah, but I forget what it said.
What are you wearing on your head? What are you wearing on your head?
Just a bandana, coconut trees. They had a 75 millimeter howitzer battery there on Guadalcanal. They didn't use for artillery, but they used those horses to haul rations up in the hills, up in the
No,
mountains.
that's a Higgins boat. That's not an OST.
What the hell do they call that? Pack outfit. Strictly World War One. Got overseas. It's a training mask. It's not a real gas mask. pup tent put together? There it is.
I've seen your shelter hat.
That's what I'm talking about, shelter half. So you hang your laundry on the line between the tents.
Did you ever get rid of that shelter half, or is it still hanging around the
It's
house?
still around the house. See the star on the back? That's the Navy plane. Navy based.
You were talking about having the blimp escort when you left the States.
Up and down the East Coast, yeah.
I've talked to a Navy officer. That was his job. He was a dirigible pilot. And he said they escorted, but he said what they mainly did was submarine
Yeah.
search along the coast.